Captain Elias Kane stepped onto the wide platform of the arena and looked around. The sun-like glow of the artificial lights reflected off the polished floor. Across the galaxy, dozens of species had gathered to watch the grand tournament. Ships from countless worlds hovered overhead, their bright colors cutting across the black of space like living stars. Elias felt the hum of excitement in the air. This was not just a contest of strength. It was a test of intelligence, courage, and honor. Humanity had come far, but today, he knew, their reputation hung in the balance. Elias adjusted the straps of his armor. It was lightweight but strong, designed for agility and protection. Unlike some humans, he did not rely on sheer size or brute force. His strength lay in his mind and his judgment. Today that mind would guide him in ways the galaxy could not yet imagine. "Captain Kane," a voice called from behind. It was Lieutenant Mira, his second in command. "The other contestants are preparing. Are you ready?" Elias nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be. Let them underestimate us, it will make the victory sweeter." From his place on the platform, Elias could see the alien competitors. There were towering reptilian warriors, insects with shining exoskeletons and sleek beings that seemed almost liquid in form. They moved with grace and precision, each one radiating confidence. And then, at the far end of the stage, the prize was revealed. A set of alien princesses, each standing on a small pedestal waiting to be chosen by the victor. They were the heirs of great worlds, each said to possess remarkable abilities. But the crowd's attention was selective. Eyes lingered on the tall, elegant ones with shimmering skin and perfect features. They were praised and whispered about, in awe. And then there was her Lyria. She stood quietly, almost invisible in her plain gray garb. Her features were unconventional, large, wide-set eyes, a small nose, and a crooked smile. Her skin was rough, almost leathery, and her hair hung in tangled locks. Many in the crowd laughed or shook their heads. "Who would choose her?" they whispered. Elias's eyes, however, did not move past her. He saw something others could not. Beneath the surface there was intelligence, depth, and strength. He walked slowly across the stage, letting the murmurs swirl around him. Every step he took drew more attention, but he ignored the whispers. When he stopped in front of Lyria, he bowed respectfully. "I choose you," he said, his voice calm and steady. A hush fell over the arena. Contestants stared in disbelief. The audience murmured. A few humans gasped. Other alien princes and princesses looked almost offended. "Are you blind?" One of them hissed to a friend. "That one is the ugliest of them all." Elias ignored the criticism. Lyria looked up at him, her wide eyes flickering with surprise and something else. Was it hope? Relief? She did not move, as if frozen, but there was a faint smile on her face. "You choose me?" she asked, her voice soft yet steady. "I do," Elias replied. "Not for your looks, but for who you are. I believe there is more in you than the eyes can see." Her heart beat faster. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. Not her father, not the council of her homeworld, not even the people who had trained her since childhood. They only saw the surface. Elias saw something deeper. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena, shaking the walls. "Captain Elias Kane of Earth chooses Princess Lyria of Zeran." The words echoed, but the murmurs of disbelief did not fade. Aliens nudged each other, questioning his sanity. Lyria stepped forward slowly. Her feet barely made a sound on the smooth floor. Her hands trembled, but she lifted her head high. Elias held out his hand and she took it. In that moment a bond formed, not from ceremony, not from appearances, but from mutual respect. As they moved off the platform, the human soldiers accompanying Elias gave approving nods. They understood his choice. Elias had always been unconventional, valuing wisdom and courage over appearances, but even they were slightly stunned. Back in the arena, whispers grew louder. "Why would he choose her?" a tall reptilian warrior asked. "Surely he could have chosen one of the elegant ones. They are far more valuable." Elias did not look back. The value he saw could not be measured in beauty or tradition. Lyria's mind, her loyalty, and her courage were far more important than skin or scales. As they left the stage, Lyria's quietness returned. She was unsure of what was happening or what awaited her. Yet walking beside Elias, she felt safe. For the first time, someone had chosen her for herself. The journey back to the human fleet would not be easy. Ships would carry them across countless light years, and dangers lurked in the shadows of space. But Elias was confident. With Lyria at his side, he believed humanity could face whatever the galaxy threw at them. That evening, in the command center of his ship, Elias studied the map of the galaxy. Stars shimmered like diamonds on black velvet. "We have allies, but also enemies," he said almost to himself. "And now we have her. She may be small, unassuming, and underestimated, but I know she will prove herself." Lyria watched him silently. She wanted to speak but did not know what to say. Finally, she asked, "Why? Why did you choose me?" Elias looked at her with a small smile. "Because I can see what others cannot. You are not what the world says you are. You are more." For the first time, Lyria felt a spark of pride. The world had judged her by appearances, but Elias's choice said something different. Perhaps in this human soldier she had found an ally, a friend, and someone who could see her true worth. The night passed with quiet discussions. Elias briefed Lyria on the journey ahead, the alien territories they would cross, the rules of engagement, and the challenges that might arise. Lyria listened carefully, asking questions when necessary. It became clear that her knowledge of alien worlds was vast. Maps, languages, and cultures she had studied in secret were coming to light. Elias was impressed. By dawn, the fleet's engines hummed softly and the ships began their journey. As stars streaked past the viewports, Elias and Lyria stood together, watching the galaxy unfold. In that endless expanse, the future seemed uncertain, but also full of possibility. No one else could see it yet, but Elias knew the choice he had made would change the galaxy in ways no one could predict. And Lyria, the so-called ugly princess, felt something stir inside her, a quiet determination to prove that the mind and spirit were far more powerful than appearances. Somewhere in the distance, alien scouts watched the human fleet, noting the unexpected pairing. Their reports would spread, and soon the galaxy would talk, not about the competition, but about the human soldier who chose differently. And so Captain Elias Kane and Princess Lyria began their journey, not just as victor and prize, but as partners, allies, and perhaps in time, as equals who could face the galaxy together. Little did they know the challenges awaiting them were greater than any tournament. Pirates, hostile factions, and ancient technologies would test their minds, hearts, and courage. But for now, they had made the first choice, the choice to see beyond the surface, to value the substance beneath. And that choice, above all, would shape the rest of the galaxy's story. The human fleet moved like a silver arrow through the darkness of space. Thousands of stars streaked past the viewports of the flagship Resolute, creating long trails of light that seemed almost alive. Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back, eyes scanning the blinking points of navigation. Beside him, Princess Lyria remained quiet, absorbing everything around her. "Do you always watch the stars this closely?" Lyria asked, breaking the silence. Her voice was soft, but it carried a curiosity Elias had come to respect. "Not always," he said, glancing at her. "But when you're leading a fleet across the unknown, you learn to notice patterns. Stars, signals, even enemy movements. They all tell a story if you pay attention." Lyria nodded thoughtfully. She was beginning to understand how humans approached problems. They were not just strong or clever. They analyzed everything, predicted outcomes, and prepared for possibilities. It reminded her of her own studies on Jaren, but humans added something she had rarely seen: instinct. The fleet glided past the edge of the Viridian Nebula, a swirling cloud of emerald gases. Elias pointed toward it. "We'll need to be careful here." The nebula disrupts sensors and communication. It's a favorite hiding place for pirates. Lyria tilted her head. Pirates, they are still common? Everywhere, Elias said with a wry smile. Space is vast, and danger often hides in plain sight. That's why we move together. As the fleet entered the nebula, the lights dimmed, and a green haze enveloped the ships. Communication screens flickered, showing static and distorted images. Suddenly, the fleet's sensors detected multiple small ships approaching at high speed. Pirates, Elias said simply. His hand moved to the control panel. Brace for contact. Lyria, stay close. The small ships emerged from the nebula, like shadows, sleek and jagged, firing rapid pulses of energy. The fleet's shields flared, absorbing the initial blasts. Human gunners responded with precision, their targeting algorithms predicting the pirates' movements. Lyria watched closely, her wide eyes tracking every detail. Their formation is unusual, she said. They are trying to split our forces. Elias looked at her, impressed. Good observation. You've studied military tactics before? I read everything I could, Lyria admitted. On Jaran, I studied war strategies, alien politics, and navigation. It is my duty to be prepared. Then help me, Elias said, handing her a tactical pad. We can use your insight to coordinate the fleet. For the next tense minutes, Lyria analyzed the pirates' formation, giving commands and adjustments that surprised even the seasoned human officers. She suggested maneuvers, points of attack, and decoys. The humans followed her guidance, and, slowly, the tide of the battle shifted. With coordinated precision, the fleet surrounded the pirates, forcing them to retreat back into the nebula. One small vessel attempted a desperate attack, but a well-timed strike from a human fighter destroyed it. The rest of the pirates fled, leaving the fleet unscathed. Elias clapped Lyria on the shoulder. Not bad for your first encounter with human ships. Lyria flushed slightly. I only suggested what I had seen. You executed it. Elias smiled. It was teamwork. And you were part of it. As the fleet continued its journey, the incident spread through the crew quickly. Whispers of the ugly princess who saved a human fleet from pirates reached every corner of the flagship. Some laughed, some were shocked, and others, especially human soldiers, nodded in quiet approval. Elias had chosen well. During the following days, Elias spent time training with Lyria. They moved through the corridors, going over star maps, alien languages, and fleet strategies. Lyria's mind was quick. She remembered coordinates, translated complex texts, and even suggested improvements to ship designs. One evening, as they walked along the observation deck, Lyria turned to Elias. You did not choose me because of my appearance, but because... She hesitated. Because you saw my mind? Elias looked at her, his expression calm. Partly, but more than that, I chose you because you are capable of seeing truth, of understanding what others miss. You are brave, clever, and loyal. Those are qualities that matter in the galaxy far more than looks. Lyria's eyes glimmered. For the first time, she felt truly valued. On Jaran, she had been hidden, overlooked, judged for appearances, and dismissed. Now, with Elias's words, she began to believe she could make a difference. Their quiet conversation was interrupted by an alarm. The fleet's sensors had detected an anomaly ahead, a large, ancient, derelict ship drifting in space. Its hull was covered in strange glyphs, and energy readings fluctuated unpredictably. Ancient technology, Elias muttered. Possibly pre-galactic. Could be dangerous, could be valuable. The fleet adjusted course, moving cautiously toward the derelict. Lyria's eyes widened as she studied the ship. I've read of these, she whispered. Ships from before the Great Rift. They were abandoned long ago, but they hold secrets. Maps, weapons, information, if we are careful. Elias nodded. We'll investigate, but carefully. Lyria, you'll lead the initial scans. Your knowledge may help us understand the ship before we make contact. Inside the derelict, Lyria worked quickly. Her long fingers danced over consoles that had not been touched for centuries. Alien symbols lit up under her touch, and data streams began to flow. Elias watched her, quietly amazed. Not only was she brave enough to enter an unknown vessel, she was skilled enough to read and manipulate technology humans barely understood. Hours passed. Finally, Lyria turned to Elias. The ship is mostly empty, but there is information. Star, maps, old battle plans, even records of civilizations we thought lost. And a warning. Something catastrophic happened here. Whoever was aboard did not survive. Elias frowned. Then we must be careful. These maps could lead to allies, or traps. Lyria nodded, her expression serious. I will help you decipher them. Together we can make sense of it. As the fleet continued its journey, Elias began to notice other things about Lyria. Her patience, her curiosity, and her ability to remain calm under pressure were unlike anyone he had ever known. She asked questions, but she also offered solutions. She was quiet, but when she spoke, her words carried weight. One night, as the stars streaked past like silver rain, Lyria finally asked a question that had been on her mind for days. Elias, why do humans value honor and loyalty so much? Why not only strength or power? Elias considered this. Because strength without wisdom can destroy. Power without honor leads to ruin. Humanity has survived because we look beyond the surface. We measure actions, not appearances. And we trust those who prove themselves through courage and loyalty, not by looks alone. Lyria absorbed his words. On Jaran, she had lived among people who measured everything by appearances, status, and influence. Here, she saw a different world, a different philosophy. For the first time, she understood why Elias had chosen her, and why she wanted to live up to that trust. The days passed quickly. The fleet moved from star to star, navigating nebulae, asteroid fields, and pirate zones. Lyria's skills became more evident with each encounter. She helped repair damaged shields, translated encrypted messages from alien scouts, and even predicted a meteor storm that could have destroyed several smaller ships. By the time they reached the outskirts of human space, the crew no longer whispered about Lyria's appearance. They whispered about her intelligence, her courage, and the quiet strength that she radiated. She had become a symbol, not of beauty, but of substance. Elias watched her from the bridge one evening. She leaned over a holographic map, her fingers tracing routes across the stars. The soft glow of the displays illuminated her face, showing determination, concentration, and a spark of confidence he had never seen before. You've changed, he said quietly, almost to himself. Lyria looked up and smiled faintly. No, Elias, I have only been allowed to show who I truly am. He nodded. That was exactly right. And he knew that the journey ahead would test them both. The galaxy was dangerous, and not all threats came in the form of pirates or natural phenomena. Some came in the form of powerful fleets, political schemes, and ancient secrets. But for now, Elias felt confident. Together with Lyria, humanity had a chance, not just to survive, but to thrive. Not because they were the strongest, but because they were wise, brave, and willing to see beyond appearances. As the Resolute and its fleet moved toward the human home territories, stars glimmering like promises in the distance, Elias and Lyria stood side by side. The journey had only begun, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. But one thing was certain. The so-called ugly princess was no longer just a prize. She was a partner, an ally, and perhaps the key to humanity's future in the stars. The human fleet had finally reached the outer edges of the Galactic Coalition's territory. Stars glimmered like distant jewels, and planets rotated silently below, their surfaces dotted with cities, forests, and oceans. Captain Elias Kane walked along the deck of the flagship Resolute, his boots making a soft echo on the metal floor. Beside him, Princess Lyria moved with a quiet grace that had begun to command attention. The officers and crew of the fleet no longer whispered about her looks. They watched her carefully now, noting the calm and intelligence with which she approached problems. Some still remembered the first day she had stepped aboard, the ugly princess chosen by Elias Kane. But those memories had been replaced with respect. She had proven herself time and again during the journey through pirate territory, the nebula, and the derelict ship filled with ancient secrets. "Elias," Lyria said softly, "I think it is time you knew the truth about me." He turned to her, curious. "Truth?" "Yes," she said, her voice steady. "What you see, this form, this appearance, is not who I truly am." Elias raised an eyebrow but remained calm. He had sensed there was more to her than met the eye, but he wanted her to explain. Lyria led him to a quiet observation chamber at the rear of the ship. The walls were glass, showing the endless field of stars. She closed her eyes, and for a moment the hum of the ship filled the silence. Then, her form began to shimmer. The plain gray skin and crooked features faded like mist, replaced by a radiant figure. Her hair fell in golden waves. Her eyes glowed with a brilliant violet light, and her skin had a subtle luminescence. The transformation was graceful and natural, not forced. When she opened her eyes, Elias saw the true Lyria, a being of extraordinary beauty, strength, and presence. You are," Elias whispered, stunned but not afraid. "I am who I was always meant to be," Lyria said calmly. "But my people taught me to hide this, to appear unassuming so that others would not fear or envy me. On Jiran, power is often punished, and beauty can bring danger. I have lived my life in disguise." Elias studied her. "And yet you allowed me to choose you." "Because I wanted to see if anyone could look beyond the surface," she said. "And you did. You saw me for my mind, my courage, my loyalty, not my face." For the first time, Elias understood fully. The princess he had chosen was not only intelligent and brave, she was also powerful in ways few could imagine. He realized that her disguise had been a test as much as his choice had been. "I see now why," he said, nodding slowly. "You are extraordinary, and you trusted me with this secret." "Yes," she said. "I trust you, Elias, and the galaxy will soon see what I can truly do, but only when the time is right." The revelation changed something in the fleet. Lyria's confidence grew and her presence became magnetic. Officers came to her for advice, engineers sought her insight on alien technologies, and even rival alien factions began to treat her with caution. She was no longer the timid, overlooked princess. She was a force to be reckoned with. One day, the fleet received a distress call from a nearby coalition planet. A massive war fleet was approaching, its ships enormous and heavily armed. Sensors indicated that they carried advanced weapons capable of destroying cities in minutes. The coalition leaders were in panic. Elias gathered his officers. "We cannot face this fleet head-on," he said. "They outnumber us and outgun us. We need strategy, and we need information. Lyria, can you help?" Lyria stepped forward, her true form glowing faintly. "Yes, I can communicate with their leaders, read their intentions, and perhaps find a way to turn them away without battle. But if that fails, I can help you plan a defensive strategy that maximizes our fleet's strengths." Elias nodded. "Do it. Whatever it takes, we must protect these worlds." Lyria contacted the approaching fleet using an ancient method known only to her people. Her voice, carried through encrypted channels, was calm and commanding. The leaders of the enemy fleet were taken aback. They had expected humans, clever and stubborn, but not an alien princess speaking with such authority and knowledge of interstellar politics. After hours of negotiation and subtle psychological maneuvering, Lyria managed to delay the enemy fleet. Their commanders were confused and hesitant, unsure of what the humans and their allies were capable of. Lyria's presence had shifted the balance. Elias watched her, pride and admiration mixing with respect. "She's incredible," he whispered to himself. "And the galaxy hasn't even begun to see it." But not everyone in the coalition trusted her. Some human leaders feared her abilities, and influence. We don't know her past, one council member warned. We cannot be sure she is loyal. Elias stood firm. I trust her, and she has proven herself repeatedly. Loyalty is shown through action, not speculation. Judge her by what she does, not by what you fear. Meanwhile, Lyria worked tirelessly. She studied enemy fleet movements, advised human engineers on optimizing shields and weapons, and even suggested maneuvers that allowed the fleet to conserve energy while maximizing coverage. Slowly, the humans began to rely on her insight as much as Elias did. One night, in the quiet of the observation deck, Elias asked, "Do you ever regret hiding your true form?" Lyria looked at him, thoughtful. "No. I had to survive. I had to be careful. But now, I see the value of being open, of showing who I truly am. With you, with your people, I feel I can finally be myself." Elias smiled. "And you've already changed us. The crew respects you, follows your advice, and most importantly, you've taught us to see beyond appearances." Lyria's eyes glimmered. Then perhaps that was the purpose all along, not just to survive, but to teach, to show that strength, wisdom, and courage are more important than appearances, that even someone overlooked can change the course of the galaxy. The next challenge came sooner than expected. The enemy fleet began a slow approach, testing the coalition's defenses. Lyria's calculations predicted their route, and she helped Elias deploy the fleet strategically. Using asteroids for cover and positioning smaller ships in flanking patterns, they created a network that could counter the enemy's superior firepower. When the first skirmish began, Lyria was at the command station, analyzing every movement, every shot fired. Her knowledge of alien tactics allowed human gunners to anticipate attacks, deflect incoming fire, and even disable enemy ships with minimal loss. Elias watched from above, amazed. She had become not just an advisor, but the heart of their strategy. During a brief lull in the battle, a human officer approached Elias. "Captain, the crew is talking about her. They're calling her the mind of the fleet, and they respect her more than any of us expected." Elias nodded. "She deserves it. But remember, it's not her alone. It's all of us, working together. And she's teaching us something. More important, we can see beyond appearances, we can recognize true ability." As the enemy fleet withdrew, confused and cautious, Lyria turned to Elias. "We have shown them that the coalition is not weak, but this is only the beginning. There are greater threats, older powers, and secrets waiting in the galaxy. We must be ready." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we face them together, humans and allies side by side. And with you, I have no doubt we will survive, and perhaps even thrive." That night, as the fleet moved toward the next sector, Lyria stood on the observation deck gazing at the stars. For the first time, she felt truly free. Her disguise was gone, her skills were acknowledged, and her voice carried weight across the galaxy. She had chosen to reveal herself, not out of pride, but because the moment demanded truth, and Elias had chosen to trust her, validating every decision she had made. The bond between the human soldier and the alien princess had grown stronger. It was no longer a simple choice made in a tournament. It was a partnership forged in trust, respect, and shared purpose, and though the galaxy was vast and filled with unknown dangers, both knew one truth. Together they were stronger than anything that could oppose them. As the stars streaked past like silver threads, Lyria whispered softly, "The galaxy may judge us at first by appearances, but soon it will learn to respect what truly matters." Elias looked at her and smiled. "And I will be right beside you when that happens." The journey ahead promised challenges, battles, and revelations. But for the first time, both human and alien alike could feel hope. Hope born not from strength alone, but from wisdom, courage, and the recognition of true potential. The sky above the coalition worlds was filled with fire and steel. Thousands of warships, both human and alien, clashed in orbit around the twin planets of Eridani Prime and Eridani Secundus. Lasers lanced through the blackness, missiles streaked, like falling stars, and explosions lit the void with fierce brilliance. The Galactic Coalition had never faced an enemy like this. A fleet so fast, so precise, and so merciless that entire systems trembled at the thought of confrontation. Captain, Elias Kane stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, his hands gripping the console tightly. His eyes darted across the holographic display showing enemy positions, fleet movements, and damage reports. The humans were outnumbered, yes, but the human way had never been to surrender. Strategy, ingenuity, and courage were their greatest weapons. "Lyria," Elias called, "we need your insight now more than ever. Can you see a way to turn this around?" Lyria, her radiant form glowing softly in the dim light of the bridge, nodded. "Yes. The enemy relies on sheer numbers and brute force. They underestimate the intelligence of smaller forces. If we position our ships carefully, use the asteroid belts, and set traps in their path, we can outmaneuver them. But we must act quickly." Elias felt a surge of pride. This was the princess he had chosen, the one everyone had laughed at, the ugly princess. Now she was the mind guiding an entire fleet through chaos, turning the tide before the first real engagement had fully begun. "Deploy the flanking units as I suggested," Lyria commanded. "Position the smaller ships here," she traced, points on the hologram with her fingers, "and prepare the decoy drones. They will draw enemy fire, allowing our main forces to strike strategically." The crew followed her instructions. Human pilots and alien allies alike marveled at how quickly and precisely the maneuvers were executed. Lyria's confidence and knowledge radiated through the fleet like a spark in the dark. The first wave of enemy ships struck the flanking units, as Lyria had predicted. Laser beams scorched the hulls of human frigates, but the smaller ships evaded with precision. Decoy drones exploded spectacularly, drawing fire away from the main fleet. The enemy fleet faltered, caught off guard by the unexpected tactics. Elias seized the opportunity. "All units, advance. Follow Lyria's plan." The fleet surged forward, weaving through asteroid fields and taking advantage of the enemy's hesitation. Human ingenuity combined with Lyria's guidance made each move deadly precise. Ships fired in coordinated volleys, disabling weapon systems, jamming communications, and even using gravity wells to trap enemy vessels. On the observation deck, Lyria watched the battle unfold, her violet eyes calculating every movement. She directed reinforcements where they were needed most, predicted enemy maneuvers before they happened, and even suggested psychological tactics, false retreats, and feigned vulnerabilities that drew the enemy into traps. Hours passed in a tense blur of fire and strategy. The enemy fleet was powerful, but human adaptability and determination were stronger. Slowly, the tide turned. Enemy ships began retreating, their formations breaking under pressure. Lyria's strategies were flawless, and Elias's execution was precise. "Elias," Lyria said, her voice calm but urgent, "they're attempting to regroup. If we do not act now, they will come back stronger." Elias nodded. "Prepare the main strike." All firepower concentrated on their command ships. The fleet obeyed. Laser beams, plasma torpedoes, and electromagnetic pulses rained down on the enemy's command vessels. One by one, the massive ships faltered, shields failing, weapon systems offline. The enemy commander's voice echoed over the comms, frustrated and panicked. Who are you? How can you fight like this?" Elias smiled, though no one could see it. "We are human," he said simply, "and we do not fight alone." The final strike hit, and the enemy command ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The remaining vessels retreated into the void, leaving the coalition world safe. For now. Cheering erupted across the human fleet. Humans and alien allies alike celebrated, but Elias's attention remained on Lyria. She stood quietly, watching the battle's aftermath with calm eyes. "You were amazing," Elias said. "The fleet owes this victory to you as much as to anyone." Lyria shook her head. It was a team effort. But, thank you, I only guided. You and your people acted. That is what matters. The victory, however, was not without cost. Several ships were damaged, some lost, and countless lives were at risk. Elias moved through the fleet afterward, checking on his crews, ensuring everyone was safe. Lyria accompanied him, her presence reassuring to those who had once doubted her. As the fleet repaired and regrouped, the political leaders of the coalition called for a meeting. They wanted to discuss the outcome, the strategy, and the implications of Lyria's abilities. Many were skeptical, fearing the influence she now held. Some human leaders defended her, citing her brilliance and loyalty. Elias stood before the Council, Lyria by his side. She is not a threat, he said firmly. She has proven herself through action. Her abilities saved countless lives today. We should not fear her. We should learn from her and work together. A few council members murmured dissent, but most nodded in agreement. Lyria, standing tall and confident, spoke next. Her voice was steady, commanding respect. I do not seek power for myself, she said. I only wish to serve the coalition, to protect these worlds and to guide where I can. I ask for trust, not because of my appearance, but because of my actions. Judge me by what I do, not by what you fear. Her words had weight. The council's atmosphere shifted, tension easing as respect replaced suspicion. Lyria had not only guided the fleet to victory, she had won the hearts and minds of those around her. As night fell on Eridani Prime, Elias and Lyria stood together on a balcony overlooking the city. Fires of celebration glowed in the distance, ships flew overhead in formation, and the people cheered their protectors. You did it, Elias said quietly. The galaxy will remember this day. No, Lyria replied softly. We did it, together. Humans, allies, and I. We all played a part. That is the real victory. Elias nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. And yet, I know this is only the beginning. There are older powers, deeper secrets, and enemies we have yet to face. But with you, Lyria, I feel ready for whatever comes next. Lyria smiled faintly, her violet eyes reflecting the glow of the fires below. And I am ready as well. The galaxy may have underestimated me, but now it must see the truth. Appearances can deceive, but courage, wisdom, and loyalty, they cannot. In the coming days, the fleet worked tirelessly to repair ships, tend to the wounded, and secure the coalition's borders. Lyria trained alongside human officers, sharing her knowledge, teaching strategy, and even demonstrating subtle powers that enhanced the fleet's capabilities. Elias watched her, proud and amazed. He remembered the first day he had chosen her, in the arena, when the galaxy laughed at his decision. Now that choice had changed everything. Lyria was no longer the ugly princess. She was a symbol of hope, intelligence, and unity. As the fleet prepared to move to the next sector, Elias turned to Lyria. What comes next? The galaxy is vast, she said. There are threats we cannot yet see, alliances we must strengthen, and secrets waiting in the stars. But we face them together. Humans, allies, and I. We will continue to prove that courage and wisdom can overcome any obstacle. Elias smiled. Then let's move forward. The galaxy is waiting, and we will be ready. Side by side, the human soldier and the alien princess gazed at the stars. The battle for the galaxy was far from over, but for the first time they knew one thing with certainty. Together they could face anything. The so-called ugly princess had revealed her true self, and in doing so, had changed the course of the galaxy forever. The stars glimmered like diamonds in the vast black of space, stretching endlessly in every direction. The human fleet, led by Captain Elias Kane and Princess Lyria, had returned from the front lines victorious. Word of their deeds had spread. Across multiple systems, humans had not only survived but had turned the tide of a battle that many had thought impossible. The so-called ugly princess had revealed her true brilliance, earning respect from allies and even former skeptics. Elias, walked across the flagship's bridge, his boots echoing softly. Around him, officers and crew were busy analyzing reports, sending messages to allied worlds, and preparing for the next stage of the coalition's expansion. Lyria, radiant and confident, stood nearby, reviewing interstellar maps with her usual, calm focus. "Elias," she said, "the coalition leaders are requesting a formal meeting. They wish to discuss the future of these worlds and our ongoing defense strategies." "Very well," Elias replied. "But this will not just be a meeting of politics. This will be a chance to solidify alliances, to show that humans and allies, working together, can make the galaxy safer." When they arrived at the council chambers, leaders from dozens of planets waited. Some were still cautious, others openly skeptical. But all eyes turned toward Lyria as she entered. She walked with quiet confidence, her radiant form commanding respect, her presence demanding attention without a word. "Princess Lyria," one council member began, "your actions during the recent conflict have surprised us all. Humans speak highly of your guidance and insight. Some even say you saved entire fleets." Lyria nodded. "I did what I could, but the credit belongs to all of us, humans, aliens, and allies alike. We acted together, using wisdom, courage, and trust. That is how victory was achieved." The council murmured, impressed by her humility and clarity. She continued, "There is much we still do not know. Ancient fleets, unknown technologies, and hostile powers remain in the galaxy. But if we unite, if we act with honor and intelligence, we can face any challenge." Elias stood beside her, quietly proud. From the moment he had chosen her in the arena, he had known she was special. Now the galaxy had seen it too. A representative from a distant system spoke next. "We underestimated humans. Your ability to see beyond appearances, to trust and to act wisely has changed our perspective. We welcome your guidance, Captain Kane and Princess Lyria." The meeting continued for hours. Strategies were discussed, alliances formed, and plans laid for exploration, defense, and trade. Lyria's influence grew with each word she spoke. She was not seeking power, only recognition of her abilities and the chance to protect the galaxy. And she had earned it. After the council meeting, Elias and Lyria walked along the observation deck. Below them, the cities of allied worlds shimmered with lights, and fleets moved in perfect coordination. The galaxy was beginning to heal and rebuild. "You have changed everything," Elias said quietly. "Not just for humans, but for every world we've touched. You've shown them that appearances do not define worth." Lyria looked at him, her violet eyes reflecting the stars. "And you have chosen to trust me, Elias. That choice set all of this in motion. Without it, I might still be hiding, still unnoticed. Together, we have proven that courage, wisdom, and loyalty are more powerful than fear or prejudice." Elias smiled. "And humanity has learned something too. We've learned that strength comes not from size or weapons alone, but from insight, compassion, and trust. HFY isn't just about what humans can do, it's about what they choose to value." Their quiet conversation was interrupted by a young officer approaching them. "Captain Princess, citizens from multiple worlds are gathering to honor your service. They request your presence at the celebration." Lyria nodded. "Then let us go. But remember, this is not just about us. It is about every person who fought, every ship that endured, every life we saved together." At the Grand Plaza on Eridani Prime, thousands had gathered. Humans, aliens, and hybrids stood shoulder to shoulder. Banners fluttered, displaying symbols of unity, courage, and hope. Children waved at the fleet overhead, and the crowd cheered as Elias and Lyria appeared. The first to speak was the coalition's highest representative. "Today we honor not just victory in battle, but the spirit that made it possible. Captain Elias Kane of Earth and Princess Lyria of Jaren have shown us that wisdom, courage, and respect are greater than fear, prejudice, or appearance. They have united our worlds in ways we never imagined possible." Elias raised his hand to the crowd. "We did not do this alone. Every crew member, Every ally, every person here has contributed. Humans are proud to stand with you, and we will continue to act with honor, courage, and wisdom. Together, we are stronger than any threat in the galaxy. Lyria stepped forward. I once hid who I truly was, because the world judged by appearances. But today, I stand before you openly, not as a prize or a figurehead, but as a partner and ally. Let my example remind you that courage, intelligence, and loyalty are what truly define a person, and together we can face any challenge. The crowd erupted into applause. Cheering, singing, and celebration filled the air. Humans and aliens alike embraced, shared stories, and laughed together. Children ran through the streets, waving small flags, dreaming of the heroes who had changed the galaxy. In the quiet moments, Elias and Lyria walked along the edge of the plaza. Do you ever think about how it all began? Elias asked. Choosing each other? Lyria said with a faint smile. Every day. I remember the arena, the whispers, the doubt. And yet, that choice, your choice, set everything into motion. It gave me the chance to be myself, and it gave humanity the chance to see what truly matters. Elias chuckled softly. They called you the ugliest princess, and now look at you. You've changed the galaxy. I am not the one who chose me for my mind, Lyria said. That was you. You saw the truth before anyone else did. And for that, the galaxy and I owe you more than words can express. Elias looked at the horizon. Then let us continue. There are still worlds to explore, alliances to strengthen, and dangers to face. But we will face them together, as equals, and as a reminder that humans choose wisely, even when others doubt them. Over the next few weeks, the coalition solidified. Trade routes opened, hostile fleets were deterred, and ancient threats were slowly mapped and understood. Humans became respected not only as warriors but as diplomats, strategists, and problem solvers. Their reputation spread as beings who could solve problems, lead with honor, and act with courage. Lyria's presence inspired a new generation of leaders. She trained diplomats, taught military strategy, and shared knowledge of ancient civilizations. Her disguise was gone, her mind and spirit recognized, and her contributions celebrated across multiple systems. Elias and Lyria often stood together, overseeing the progress. Their partnership had grown beyond respect and admiration. It was a bond of shared purpose and trust. Humans and aliens learned from them, inspired by the lessons of courage, intelligence, and loyalty. One evening, as the twin suns of Eridani set, painting the sky with gold and violet, Elias and Lyria stood on the observation deck. Ships flew overhead, children's laughter echoed from the streets below, and the galaxy seemed at peace, at least for now. Do you think they will ever forget? Lyria asked. Never, Elias said. They will remember that humans can see beyond appearances. That courage, wisdom, and loyalty are stronger than fear or prejudice, that even the smallest choices can have the greatest impact. Lyria smiled. Then let us make sure we continue to choose wisely. And so, humanity's place in the galaxy was secured, not by power alone, but by discernment, honor, and courage. The ugly princess had revealed her true self, and together with the human soldier who saw her worth, they had shown the galaxy what it truly meant to value substance over appearances. Stars twinkled in the endless black above, silent witnesses to a story of bravery, wisdom, and trust, a story that would be told for generations across countless worlds. Captain Elias Kane and Princess Lyria had not only saved lives, they had changed hearts, inspired hope, and forged a future where humans and allies could stand together, stronger than ever.